Hi everyone, I'm Catherine, the artist behind Bigelow Fine Arts. Last week I worked on the middle building on the candles page from World Within Worlds. How is your coloring going? If you are just tuning in, I'll be working on the third building in a set of 3 using the same techniques. The coloring will be slightly different because of where the light source will be coming from. So grab your pencils and follow along with me. So after already doing 2 buildings, this one is going to work up pretty much the same. So jumping right in, I'm using the burnt sienna to block in my shadows. I like starting with the shadows. It helps me block out where I need to place my darks. Since this is the rightmost candle, all the light is coming from the left, so I will be placing all the shadows on the right side of the columns, under overhangs, and anywhere the artist provided hints in the line art. Where the line art does show shadows, I'll go through and build up the shadow with a layer of burnt sienna. This includes all the places where the wax is overhanging. I try to make my way around the top of the building, moving methodically to hit all the shadows with a light layer. With my shadows in place, I come in with the chrome yellow and give the rest of the section a base layer that will also act as my highlight color. The highlights are going to be on the left side of the building facing the flames. With my darks in place and everything else light, I'm now going to bring them together with my midtones. I'll begin with the orange glaze, adding in a layer to cover the shadow, basically glazing it with the orange and lightly drawing it into the light chrome yellow. Once completed, I can see that my shadows need to be darkened up, so I go back in and give them another layer with the burnt sienna. I use the terracotta to block in more shadows while still adding in the orange that I want in these buildings. Once I have highlights where I think I want them, I use the warm gray to really darken the shadows, and the orange glaze to get everything orange. The warm gray really helps darken the deepest shadows, but I don't want to go too dark with them right now. I can deepen them up after everything is finished. By going light with my layers, it really helps me determine where I want my colors. Once I have my colors in place, I can then deepen them as much as I need. I use my layers lightly so I can add the color in a methodical fashion. Once I have my layers in place, I like to go back and darken my shadows. I don't want to go too dark initially, so by going back in and using layers, I can darken it up as much as needed without going too far. It's hard to tell how much shadow I need initially, so that's why I have to go back several times to add more layers to the shadows. It's only after I have my highlights and blend them in that I know how deep the shadows need to be. I continue my way down the building, coloring up each section in the same way, making sure I match each section with the top and with the other buildings. I again tried to not color anything I thought might be wax dripping down the side of the building, as I wanted to save the wax for later. Some of the things seen through the columns might actually be wax, but it is hard to tell. If I feel like I colored anything that might be wax, I can go back in later and just erase the added color. As I work my way through each section, I'll also go and refine the colors and deepen the shadows above as well as where I'm working. This also adds more layers and covers the paper better. Refining means I go back and darken up the shadows again to help them stand out. As mentioned earlier, I don't know how deep my shadows need to be until I've blended them in with the midtones. I use the warm gray 6 to really deepen up the deepest shadows. I then go over everything with the orange glaze to make sure they get tinted to orange, even including my highlights. I don't want to jump straight into the orange glaze because it is too much orange, but light layers will bring a warmth to the other colors, especially the darker shadows. When I got to the steps out front of the building, I had to take into account the direction of the shadows. Since I preferred the way the second building's steps worked up, I'm going to color these steps the same way. I began by coloring them a uniform color with the dark chrome, but I blocked off the shadows where the buildings or pillars would have blocked the light. I used the terracotta and the burnt sienna to form the shadows, adding light layers. There's again a harsh shadow line that I'm not sure if should be harsh or fuzzy, but I'll leave it for now. That takes care of the last building. I hope you were able to follow along and enjoy watching me color it. Let me know how your coloring is going and if you've been following along. If you have any questions or page requests, please leave them below or on the Patreon post linking this video. I put in a list of chapter breaks in the show notes below, as well as a list of equipment I have or will be using. And thank you everyone for coming along and joining in with me on this coloring journey. I appreciate all my subscribers and look forward to more of you joining in and coloring along with me. That will only happen if you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, happy coloring!